My hands were shaking a little as I lit the last candle on the long dinner table. Everything looked perfect. The tablecloth was ironed, the silverware was polished, and the aroma of baked ham and roasted vegetables filled the entire house. I had been on my feet since 6 in the morning. Cooking, cleaning, organizing the kids' egg hunt, paying the caterer when the card reader failed, and even decorating the backyard with balloons and paper bunnies. All of it. This was the family reunion I had been dreaming of for years. Every year I tried to be involved, to help, to be useful. And every year I felt like a shadow in my own home. But this year I told myself it would be different. This year I did everything right. I paid for almost everything because my sister had forgotten her wallet again, and my mom said her back hurt too much to cook. I didn't complain. I told myself it was okay. Because maybe this time, they'd finally see that I'm not just the girl my mom married into another family for stability. Maybe they'd treat me like one of them. Not as the extra piece at the table. Not as the afterthought. I wore the yellow dress Mom had once said looked too hopeful on me. I even curled my hair, added a touch of perfume and smiled through the exhaustion. When the kids ran around looking for eggs in the garden, I watched them with tears in my eyes. Not because I was tired but because I truly believed for one small moment that I belonged. One of the little ones ran up to me, hugged me around the legs and said, "This is the best egg hunt ever." My heart swelled. I nodded and whispered, "Thank you, baby." I glanced up at the porch hoping to catch my mom watching me. Maybe smiling. Maybe proud. But she was scrolling on her phone. Not even looking. Still, I didn't let it break me. I went inside and checked on the food, refilled the lemonade jug and laid out the dessert plates. I even set aside the good silverware, the ones my stepfather said were for real guests. And just before dinner I stood near the fireplace waiting for the family to settle in. My sister walked up, glass of wine in hand, with her usual perfect hair and that smirk she wears like a crown. She looked around, nodded at the clean room, the perfect setup, the well-fed kids, then turned to me and said something I'll never forget. "Funny how you think any of this makes you one of us." I blinked. For a second I thought I heard wrong. But she just sipped her wine and walked away like she hadn't just stabbed me in the chest. I stood there frozen, holding a folded napkin in one hand, like it could protect me from what I'd just heard. My ears were ringing, but not from noise. From the silence that followed. That awful kind of silence where you realize no one is going to step in. No one is going to defend you. I looked at my mom. She was carving the ham, her favorite knife in one hand, focused on the slices like it was just any other day. She didn't say a word. Not even a glance in my direction. My stepfather was sitting at the far end of the table, pretending to check his watch. But he wasn't late for anything. He just didn't want to look at me. The napkin slipped out of my fingers. I bent down slowly to pick it up, even though it had fallen on the floor, even though it didn't matter. Somehow that napkin felt like the last piece of dignity I had left, and I wasn't ready to leave it there, stomped under someone's chair. I stood up again, straightened my back and looked around the room. Laughter filled the air, but none of it came from me. My sister was already seated, laughing with her fiancé about something on his phone. My cousin was complaining about the lack of vegan options. My mom was telling my aunt how she had to do everything herself this year. That last part made my chest tighten. Everything? I had maxed out my credit card to cover the caterer's last-minute demands. I'd taken a day off work just to steam clean the carpets. I'd even bought those little bunny napkin holders because my mom once said, "It's the little things that make it feel like home." But this wasn't home. Not for me. It never had been. It tried. God knows I'd tried. I was only 12 when Mom remarried. I used to sit near the stairs and listen to my stepfather talk about his daughters like they were the center of his world. He always introduced them as my girls and referred to me as her kid. I got used to being on the outside. To being the one who was called when something needed doing, but never when something needed celebrating. I was the one cleaning up wrapping paper on Christmas, not the one unwrapping gifts. But I still showed up. I still cooked and cleaned. I still paid for things no one thanked me for. Because a part of me thought, if I could just be good enough, helpful enough, present enough, maybe they'd see me. Maybe they'd say it. Your family. But that never happened. And standing there now, watching everyone fill their plates and ignore me like I was the hired help, I realized something. It was never going to happen. Not because I wasn't enough, but because they didn't want me to be. My sister's words were just the final confirmation. Funny how you think any of this makes you one of us. It didn't matter what I did. They had already decided who I was. And I had been too afraid to decide for myself. Till now. I don't know how long I stood there holding back tears while everyone else acted like I was invisible. I guess when you spend your whole life trying to be part of something that doesn't want you, you become an expert at swallowing pain. I walked back into the kitchen. The timer on the oven went off. The pies were done. The smell of cinnamon and butter filled the room like comfort I didn't get to taste. I put on the oven mitts and pulled them out carefully. Still doing what I was expected to do. Still showing up. Even when no one would have noticed if I didn't. I placed the pies on the counter and stepped back. Took a deep breath. Looked around at the chaos that didn't belong to me but was somehow still my responsibility. Empty juice boxes on the counter. A trail of jelly beans on the floor. Someone had spilled lemonade on the tiles and just walked away. I grabbed a rag and wiped the floor. Then straightened the chairs. Then refilled the ice bucket. I kept telling myself just a little longer. Get through dinner. You can leave after dinner. Just smile, be polite. Don't let them say you're being dramatic again. Because that's what always happened. If I spoke up, I was too emotional. If I stayed quiet, I was distant. If I helped too much, I was trying too hard. If I didn't, I was selfish. There was no winning. But I still tried. Because deep down, even after everything, I wanted someone to care. Just one person to say, you did good today. I looked out the window. The kids were gathered on the porch now, licking icing off their fingers, laughing. One of them held a handmade crown I'd made out of cardboard and glitter, ready to give to the egg hunt king. I'd stayed up till 2 a.m. the night before making it. I smiled just a little. That part had been worth it. Then I saw my sister step outside and snatch the crown out of his hand. She laughed and put it on her own head like it was a joke. The little boy pouted, then cried. She rolled her eyes and walked back in. And no one said a word. I clenched my jaw. It wasn't just me they treated like nothing. It was anyone they thought they could walk over. Anyone without a voice loud enough to matter. I walked over to the dining room again. My mom finally called, "Dinner's ready," with that cheerful voice she used around other people. Not the one she used with me. Everyone gathered around the table. My chair wasn't set. Of course. I pulled one from the corner and sat down, barely touching the food. Then I looked up at my sister, who caught my eye across the table. She smirked again, like she knew she'd broken something inside me. And she had. But she didn't know what else she had done. She didn't know that at that very moment something inside me wasn't just breaking. It was waking up. The quiet girl who always smiled and stayed silent was gone. Now it was time to stop asking for space at their table. And take back everything that had my name on it. I didn't finish my plate. I didn't even pretend to try. The food had no taste anymore. Everything just felt heavy. Like I'd been carrying this weight for years, hoping someone else would help lift it. But no one ever did. I waited until dessert was served and everyone was too busy talking and laughing to notice me slip away. No one asked where I was going. No one noticed I'd left the table. I walked down the hallway and into the guest bedroom where I'd left my bag earlier. I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out my phone. And that's when it started. The quiet part of revenge. The part no one sees coming. I opened my banking app first. I had the account numbers for the family reunion fund. It was under my name. Of course it was. No one else wanted to deal with deposits or taxes or the caterer's paperwork. So I set it up. I managed it all. There was $6,700 left. I transferred every last cent to my personal account. It wasn't theft. The invoices were all in my name. The receipts had my address. The caterer, the tent rental, even the bunny napkins. All paid from my pocket. I was just settling what was owed. Next, I opened the shared Google Drive folder for family events. I had built it, organized it, managed everyone's passwords. And I deleted it. Every spreadsheet, calendar, RSVP list, decoration plan. Gone. Then I opened the Airbnb app. The cabin we'd all rented for the upcoming summer trip. I'd booked it. Paid the deposit. Set up the group plan. Everyone had just sent me their share. I canceled it. The cancellation fee barely touched what I'd already spent. I forwarded the confirmation email to my sister with a simple message. You'll need to book something else. I'm out. Then came the storage unit. My stepfather had some tools and equipment stored in a unit under my name because his credit was too low to qualify. I used to laugh it off, thinking it didn't matter. But now. I logged in and scheduled the termination. They had 10 days to collect their stuff or it would be sold. Lastly, I pulled out a small folder I kept with me for emergencies. Inside was the title to the van. The same one everyone borrowed for grocery runs and party errands. It was mine. I paid the insurance. I covered the registration every year. They just used it like it was family property. I texted my cousin. Need the van back tonight. You've had it for 3 weeks. She sent back a thumbs up emoji. That was it. That emoji used to irritate me. Now it made me smile. I walked back into the dining room. Everyone was eating pie, laughing about a memory I wasn't a part of. My mom didn't even glance at me. My sister was showing off her ring again, the one her fiancé got her. I stood there for a moment just watching. And then I said calmly, "Thanks for dinner. I've got to head out." A few barely looked up. My mom said, "Okay, take some leftovers." "No thanks," I replied, stepping back toward the hallway. "I'll call you later," she added without looking at me. But she wouldn't. She never did. And this time I wouldn't answer anyway. I grabbed my coat, picked up my keys and walked out the front door. For the first time in my life I didn't feel like I was walking away from something. I was walking toward myself. And I was about to show them exactly who they had taken for granted all these years. The next morning I woke up to 3 missed calls and a long text from my cousin. "Hey, just went to grab groceries but the van won't start. Says something about the ignition lock? Did you change something?" I didn't reply. I had the spare keys now. I had activated the anti-theft mode using the mobile app. It was still parked in front of her house, but it wasn't hers to touch anymore. An hour later my email dinged. My sister had forwarded me a message from Airbnb. "What is this? The cabin is cancelled?" "We already made plans," she wrote. Then another ping. "Mom, I think there's something wrong with the event files. The whole family folder is gone. Can you restore it?" No greeting. No apology. Just confusion masked as entitlement. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about the things they had used me to organize, manage and maintain, without ever recognizing the work behind it. I waited a few more hours before replying. To my mom I wrote, "I deleted the folder. I won't be planning anything for the family anymore. I've spent years giving and hoping to feel included. Instead I get treated like a helper who doesn't belong. I'm done." She left me on read. No response. Not even an emoji. By afternoon my stepfather called. First time in months. He didn't even say hello when I picked up. "Did you cancel the storage unit?" "Yes," I said plainly. "You could have at least warned us," he barked. "My tools are in there." "You have 10 days to get them," I said. "It's all in the email you ignored." Silence. Then the call ended without another word. I didn't feel guilty. I felt calm. Powerful even. Because for once they were scrambling. They were confused. They were the ones left out of the loop. And they hated it. That evening I opened my messages and saw one from my aunt. "I heard there's drama again. Can you just be the bigger person like always?" Like always. Of course. That was the role I had been assigned. The fixer. The peacemaker. The one who forgives quietly. Not anymore. I replied simply. "Not this time." I blocked her number after that. That night I slept better than I had in years. No guilt. No wondering what I could have done differently. No replaying the hurtful words or silences in my head. I had done enough. More than enough. And for the first time, they were finally feeling the absence of the person they always took for granted. The reunion group chat? Silence. The backup plans they always expected me to handle? Gone. The safety net I provided in 100 little ways? Snapped. It wasn't about revenge in the loud, messy way people imagine. It was about reclaiming the parts of myself I had given away too easily. It was about teaching them through action, not words, that I was never just a helper. I was the backbone. The quiet force. They had mistaken my kindness for weakness. But now they knew better. And I wasn't finished yet. There were still a few more things to take back. 3 days passed. No one called to apologize. No one texted to check on me. But one thing was clear, they were unraveling. My sister finally sent a voice note. Her tone had changed. She wasn't smug anymore. "Hey, I just realized the reunion photos are gone from the drive. Do you have a backup? I know things got weird, but can we at least have those memories?" I listened once. then deleted it. They wanted memories. I had nothing but memories of being ignored, dismissed, laughed at behind my back. Those weren't sweet moments to treasure. They were silent wounds I carried while smiling through every family picture. Then came the call I'd been waiting for. My stepfather's voice was sharp. "Did you change the business listing address?" I smiled. Yes. He used my home address years ago to register his little side business. I did the paperwork for him. Helped him with the website. Even filed some of the taxes. All under my name. Because as always I was just helping. Now I'd updated the address, redirected the mail, and removed his access to the listing. It was all legal. I still had the documents proving my ownership stake, technically 51%. Something he asked me to do, temporarily, when his credit was too low to qualify for a business license. He thought I'd forget. He thought I'd never notice. He thought I was too loyal to use it. He was wrong. "I built that business," he snapped. "No," I said calmly. "You used me to build it. I just finally realized that's not the same thing." That silence on the other end? It was the sound of power shifting. He couldn't yell. Couldn't threaten. Because deep down he knew I had every legal right to what he'd been calling his business. And just like that his voice cracked. "You're really going to do this to your own family?" I took a deep breath. "No. You did this." I just stopped pretending not to see it. He hung up. And for the first time in my life I didn't feel broken after a conversation with him. I felt whole. Because now they were finally seeing the truth. I wasn't just the one who cleaned, cooked, and planned. I was the one holding up the foundation. And when I quietly stepped back, it all started to crumble. It was 2 weeks before they reached out again. This time it wasn't a call. It wasn't a message. It was a letter delivered to my door. I hadn't expected that. At first I didn't want to read it. But something inside me told me it was time. So I opened the envelope. The letter was from my mother. It was long, but I could already tell where it was heading. She began by mentioning the family's concern about the cancellations, the changes. She mentioned the family traditions I had always taken part in, as if those traditions mattered when I was just an invisible worker in the background. She went on to explain that they were all worried about me. How I'd been distant lately. How it hurt them to see me pull away. I didn't feel any of that. What I felt was something entirely different. I felt peace. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even hurt. It wasn't even satisfying in the way I imagined revenge might be. It was just calm. I read her letter one more time before setting it down. There was no apology. No recognition of the years I had spent doing everything for them. No acknowledgement that they had pushed me into the background, taking advantage of my kindness until it was no longer there. And I realized something. I didn't need them to apologize. I didn't need them to say sorry. What I needed, what I had always needed, was to stand up for myself. To take my power back. To stop pretending that they were the ones in control when, in reality, I had been holding everything together without a single thank you. I smiled. There was no anger in me anymore. Not even a trace. The next day I had another call, this time from my sister. She sounded different, not the usual entitled tone but quiet and hesitant. I don't know what happened," she said. "I don't know what's going on, but everything's falling apart. We've tried to sort things out, but the Airbnb's gone, the cabin is cancelled, the storage unit." I cut her off. "I took everything back." "I know," she whispered. "But why?" "Because I was never just one of you." I paused, letting the words sink in. I was always the one doing everything behind the scenes. But no one ever cared. No one ever asked how I was. "So I'm done." There was silence on the other end, and I knew she didn't have anything else to say. She didn't need to. The truth was already out. The family dynamic had changed whether they liked it or not. A few days passed and then came the final blow. I received a letter from the lawyer, my stepfather's lawyer. He tried to claim that I had wrongfully taken his business from him. That I was causing harm to the family by holding on to everything I had rightfully earned. I smiled again as I read through his threats and demands. All the while I felt more empowered than ever. I had legal documents proving everything was mine. No one could take that away from me. I responded with one simple email. "You'll need to take it up with the court." Then I deleted the lawyer's number. The weeks that followed were quiet. There were no more family gatherings, no more group texts. It was as if they had all retreated into their corners, unsure of what to do. I didn't care. In the end, I didn't get the apology I deserved. I didn't need it. What I got was something more valuable. I got myself back. The woman I had been before the weight of everyone's expectations crushed me. I reclaimed my life. And it felt so much lighter without the constant weight of their demands. I wasn't just a part of the family anymore. I wasn't the one they relied on for everything. I was my own person. And that was enough. The last time I saw them, it was in passing. My sister tried to wave at me as I was walking to my car. But I didn't stop. I didn't need to. I was done. And for the first time I felt free.